Hello everyone, this is Charlotte. This is a podcast called Chatting in Cars. It's where I talk about random topics whilst I drive to work. It's about 2 degrees it feels like right now, so if you hear my teeth chattering, it's probably because I'm trying to talk while freezing my ass off. There's a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I do talk about sensitive topics and I do go on tangents, so if it starts on one, I'll probably drift onto another one. So be wary of that. And I do swear a lot, so if you don't like seeing or hearing people swearing, I would suggest not listening. There is a disclaimer at the start of this podcast. I tried my best. If you choose to ignore that disclaimer, that's on you. The best I can do is give advice. Which is funny enough, because that's what the topic is for today. Shitty intersection, sorry. Ooh, crow baby. Random. The topic for today is giving advice. Now, that is a double-edged sword for some instances, because whilst it is nice to get feedback at times, some people don't want to know about getting feedback. To them, it's an insult, which, you know, even though you might have experience and you might know what you're doing and it's not really a problem and you're not getting anything out of it, maybe you want to help someone avoid maybe a toxic situation or excessive pain or, I don't know, financial problems. You might have some insight into how to fix that or prevent it. And so you give it, but they don't want to know. Which is horrible, because we all want to be able to help. Well, most of the time. I mean, I got a weird conflicting sense of what's going on there, because there are a lot of people who want to give the illusion of helping because it makes them look good, but without actually helping. Or there's also the risk of people who want to help to get something out of you. But I would like to be, and maybe it's a bit naive, I'd like to believe that most people are there to help because, you know, you don't want to hurt anyone and you want to see them progress in life. Pain is something that's a communal feeling that most people feel. Unless you got like some weird condition or something. So we would hope that everyone's trying to help people avoid pain or help others avoid situations that are uncomfortable or, you know, bad for them. I don't know if that's overly optimistic or maybe naive, but, you know, you want to be nice to people, don't you? I'm weird because, you know, as my day job, I'm a teacher, so I'm constantly helping someone, be it little people. Kids, obviously. I'm not talking about quadriplegics. I don't know why they want to be called little people. That feels derogative. I'd rather call them quadriplegics. Anyway, I'm weird. But I help kids every day, so it's come into I've been conditioned to want to help people, not just from, you know, like my trauma background with my family where I was conditioned to be a people pleaser. I was also trained, and I have been working for the past nearly 15 years as a teacher, so I've been helping kids on a daily basis, basically. And they have no problem asking for help. They're not, it's good. It's annoying at times because you're like, you can do this. You don't need my help. But they've got no shame in asking for it, which is good. But most adults don't want to ask for help because they want to be seen as self-sufficient and they can get on with it. And, you know, it's a bit of an ego trip. But there are times in life when even adults need help and they won't ask for it because it's embarrassing or it's inconvenient or it means, you know, putting aside your ego and being a little bit more humble and taking someone else's advice, admitting that you're not right and that you need help or, you know, information or to learn a new set of skills to get past a particular obstacle or blockage in your life, or a spiritual path if you want to go that way. If we're looking at this existence in a series of cycles, which is kind of like a Buddhist slash, I want to say Hindu, I could be looking at it differently, but the reincarnation series of cycles, we are constantly learning. It's not just a case of one cycle, it's a series of cycles within cycles. You ever seen one of those, it's like an optical illusion thing, but it's like a series of rings, and you spin one ring and about 50 of them go around as well. And and it's like all the different directions. I think it's something to do with planet orbits or something like that. But it's cute. It's I like it because it kind of gives an idea of what is going on with the karmic cycles. It's not just one. We're not just here to do one job. We're here to do a series of jobs, and they vary in size and importance and things like that. And you're going to need help, whether it's help from people in the 3D, whether it's help from people in the 5D, 4D. You're going to need help, and people need to put aside their ego and say, I don't know much about this. I need your help. Can you help me? Do you know anything about this? But it's a challenge because it's assuming that we're not right all the time, or that people see asking for help as weakness. There's nothing wrong with asking help. Just don't become heavily dependent on asking for help. That's the trick. It's like if you know that you can find a way independently, then probably aim for that. But if you're going to be constantly nagging someone to get it done for you, then that's codependence, and it's not going to be very useful. Because at some point you're going to be on your own, and you need to know the skills to get the job done on your own. That's part of adulting. That's the main part of adulting, really, because there's no guarantee that you'll find someone, even if you're just looking for a partner in life. There's no guarantee that you'll find someone who's operating on the same system or at the same level or is willing to help or is not incredibly busy. So you've got to be self-sufficient and independent in your own right. Sorry, that sun is there, but it will move again, I promise. It's very orange today. Look at my beard. There. That's not a beard. I'm growing a moustache there. I'm looking forward to menopause. Finally, I can realize my masculine traits that little bit further. I can compete with the 20-year-old hipster guys. Yes. Finally. But no, as part of growing up to be independent, you're away from your parents, I would assume. They've done what they can to raise you to an extent where you are, old enough to function in your own right. You should be seeking independence. Not hyper independence like I've got, because that's trauma based and also autism. But, some people are better at social stuff than me. Hence the reason they have better networks and stuff so they can rely on. I prefer to be on my own for a lot of things. Like when I'm trying to figure something out, like at this moment I'm trying to figure out, like my main situation right now is I'm working full time. I'm working on my businesses before and after work. On top of that, I'm running errands. I'm also trying to organize the settlement of my house or my apartment. And I've just organized all my movers and the carpet cleaners and the rental people and all this kind of thing, all within a span of maybe 2 weeks. And it's been stressful, to say the least. And it's a one-off. Well, I would assume a one-off. It's not something we often do, so I'm sort of relishing the challenge. I love the get in there and get it fucking done. But at the same time, I know that my body is taking somewhat of a toll because I'm tired than usual, and I'm doing a lot more than I would normally do. Usually I'm just working full-time, going to the gym and working my businesses. It's not really a huge change, but because you've got all that extra stuff and then trying to organize delivery on couches and then how am I going to get this down the street, all this kind of crap. It does take a toll, and I have found myself able to ask for help a bit more. It's fantastic that my settlement people, my bank loan people, are doing the majority of the heavy lifting when it comes to dealing with my real estate people who I'm buying the apartment for and stuff like that. They've given me a checklist. They said, this is all you have to do. We will do the rest. It's like, okay. Tick. Have you changed your phone over? Yes. Tick. Nice. I don't have to do much. Just sign some stuff. It's fantastic. And I don't ask for help. It's like, I like that it's been simplified. They would know. I defer to them because they know more about this shit than me. So if they've got any advice or anything like that, definitely I'm going to take their advice. Like my bank guy has said, we can give you extra loans, we can give you a discount on this if you do this, if you keep it under this, we can do this, and there's always extra stuff. Now, it takes a degree of humility to turn around and say, I'm going to take that advice because it works to my advantage. An arrogant asshole living in their ego would sit there and say, fuck you, I'm doing what I want to do, and we're doing it my way. It's like, I clearly do not understand what's going on with the loan stuff, but I'm happy that it's working out because they know more than me, and I'm like, that's cool, dude. Okay, let's go with that. Now, if anyone told me how to teach, I'd kick their ass. You don't get to tell me how to teach. I don't know. I do not defer, unless it's someone with excessive experience. If you've had more experience in the workforce, like I've been teaching for nearly 15 years. If I had a graduate come in, like the other year I had an EA tell me my lesson plans were too extensive. EAs are education assistants. They are not trained as the same way teachers are trained. It was a young 20-something male EA, and I lost it. I didn't get angry, I laughed my ass off. He was fresh out of TAFE, and he's like, your lesson plans are too extensive. I'm sitting there going, I tried to handle it professionally. I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice to know. Okay, we'll see how we go with this, and if the kids can do it, they'll do it. Clearly the kids did it, so I'm like, anyway. But that was a case of his ego kicking in and saying he knows better. Is this the equivalent of mansplaining? I don't know. I'm trying not to see it that way. I'm just saying that you're a little ambitious and you don't know what the situation is, but you know, I've got to show some humility and saying, bitch, I'll fuck you up, you try that again. And admit, you know what, he could have some insight into it, but okay, we'll take it on board, but it's not going to leave my pedagogy. Dude, you're like 5. I don't take advice from 5-year-olds. It's like, no. It's cute that you're trying though. But it was a conflict of, it was an interesting feedback situation. It was a conflicting of egos there. I found it funny because I knew the reality of the circumstance. I'm going, you got no experience, you're fresh out of TAFE, and you're not even qualified for my job. You have no right to give me any kind of anything with regards to how I teach the kids at all. But I thought it was funny. I took the humor in the situation. I'm going, oh, that's cute. And I moved on. So sometimes you're going to be dealing with people who want to give advice, but they got no fucking grounds to do it. And you just got to, you know, take it on the chin and say, okay, this is your opinion, man. I mean, it's like The Big Lebowski. It's like, that's just like your opinion, man. And you sit there, and in the back of my head, that happens quite frequently. Because people, as a species and as a social collective, don't really know a full grasp of the situation. They know their particular perspective and viewpoint and assume that they're right, and that's the human ego saying, I'm right. That's just arrogance, basically. I mean, it can become inflated arrogance, where they can only see one viewpoint, and that leads to things like bigotry. But at the same time, it's like, I understand as a human, well, mostly human, somewhat, I'm a fairy, that I'm not right, and I do have a margin of human error, and that's okay. So we take that on board with a sense of humility, and we accept other people's forms of feedback, and we don't get shitty about it, because there is a chance you could be right. If all things are possible in Buddhist theory, you know, there is a chance they could be right. And if they are right, you should be grateful that they had the chance to give you, you know, insight. I think it's when people hoard information and don't want to help you, that's the problem. I think information should be shared if it's useful to the population, if it means that we can progress further as a human group, collective, in a nice way that sort of, you know, doesn't fuck up the planet or the animals more. You know, if we can find better ways of doing things that are more efficient and less destructive, then that's what we should be aiming for. And sometimes it's something as small as offering advice on what food you can eat or should eat, or something, you know, it's just small things. Or just menial day-to-day stuff. And it's all the small things that collectivize and lump up to snowball into the good thing that changes worldviews, for example. But that's like in a larger scope of things. And a lot of people will look at this small advice. And sometimes it's not delivered in the best way, because let's face it, I am quite tactless when it comes to a lot of shit. It's because I don't like sugarcoating shit. I don't agree with it. People will look at that and say, she's an asshole. And I'll say, I could be, or I could be spitting truth. I don't know. It's the way I'm doing it that offends you, obviously, but, you know, doesn't stop the content being right, does it? So you've got to be mindful of how you convey your feedback, giving advice. It's got to be in a palatable way. I've got to the age and experience where I just don't care anymore. If my insides matched my outsides, I would be a very frumpy old lady that's like, that's the way I see things these days. I'm not sugarcoating shit. It is what it is. I'm a pre-aged grumpy old lady who's fed up with bullshit and people lying to themselves in order to validate the dumb shit they do. And so you'll get a short, sharp answer. And I'm too busy to put up with shit. So if you fuck me around, you'll find the full force of the consequences of the actions. It's not going to be pleasant. But at the same time, take that shit on board with a level of seriousness, you'll probably get somewhere. Oh, hello. People changing lanes sharply. You just cut someone off. So, you've got to take into context these kinds of people that you're asking as well. And sometimes you get unsolicited advice, which gives me the shits. Everybody's been at the gym where some dickhead stood up and said, you're lifting wrong. And you're sitting there thinking, well, I know my body and I know what hurts, so I'm going to keep lifting the way I need to, regardless of whether it's perfect form or not. So we've all had those kind of experiences where you just don't want to take their feedback because it's like, it's nice, but you're not living in the vessel that I'm trying to drive right now. So if you don't mind, fuck off. Oh, it's fun. I did that one time. I didn't do that. I don't talk to people and give advice in the gym, but I received that one time. Yeah, my old gym, back when I used to live in my hometown, and some guy corrected my form when I was doing overheads, and I'm sitting there thinking, first of all, why are you talking to me? You're not qualified for anything. I was expecting maybe the PTs to come and correct my form, to be honest, if they wanted to, but I'm not invested in it. But it was just some random telling me how to do things, and I'm sitting there thinking, fuck off, dude. It was unsolicited advice. I'm going, that's offensive in itself because no one asked you. But at the same time, you got to take it with a grain of salt because it's like they just don't know that they're not being controlling and manipulative, invasive. Some people might find it, they think they're helping, and that is, it could be right about me lifting badly. At the same time, I know that my back and shoulders aren't that great most days. And I do lift a particular way, and I know I'm cack-handed, so I've got no coordination really, which is why I don't run, because I look like a goose when I run. It's terrible. It's not sexy at all. I don't do it. That and I don't breathe. So, I'm not the sexiest person when I do that. But you've got to take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, he might have had more experience or might know better. I mean, on the other hand, he might have known fuck all and just been an intrusive little asshole. But, there is a hint that maybe he might be right, they might be wrong. So take it with a grain of salt and don't be offended when some dickhead tells you what to do. You can take that on board or you can ignore it. I do remember having the reaction of screaming out the fucking audacity, but that was different. That was a different time. I was still raw from my divorce then. To the extent where in the volume where the actual PTs turned around and went, it's like, fucking audacity. I was a little bit raw at that time period, but I've controlled my temper since. 666. Ooh, what does that mean? Why do I keep seeing the numbers? What's going on with that? I'm gonna have to Google that. But bear in mind, some people will get your advice and they don't believe that you've done this. Like, my outsides don't match the shit I've been through. I know this because people are shocked when I tell them the shit that's happened to me. If you've listened to any of the other episodes I've done on this podcast or the green list, you'll know that some weird shit's gone down. I know I don't match it because most people would turn to things like drugs and stuff to survive, to band-aid the fucked up shit that happened. For some reason, the escapism of things like drugs and stuff and alcoholism didn't stick. They didn't even start. So for some reason, in my makeup, or whatever fucking happened, I don't know what decisions, maybe the universe decided, is like, no, I didn't turn to drugs, I didn't turn to alcohol, I didn't turn to sleeping around. All the things that would, break up what you are, I just didn't seem to do, and I don't know why. It just didn't click. Some people will have fucked up shit happen to them, like miscarriages, divorces, coercive rape, abandonment, 20 years of berserker parents, and they will just go, fuck it. For some reason it didn't stick with me, and I don't know why. It just didn't. I went the other way. I went uber constructive, and I can get this right, and I can fix what I was, subject to. I don't know why. I've watched people's lives fall apart over one thing that happened to me. Like, people have a divorce and lose their shit completely. They spiral out of control. I'm sitting there going, but that's one thing. It's like, what was the lead up to that one thing? There must be more. It's like, no, I lost the love of my life. It's like, what else? It's like, it's got to be more. Your whole life has spiraled. Jeez Louise, man. These trailers are unforgiving. I feel like I'm in Final Destination, man. I just had 2 semi-trailer go that way, and then another one cut that way, and they didn't hesitate out of a intersection. Nearly took out the white car in front of me. That's so weird. Yeah, I'm in my old neighborhood again. People might die prematurely here, a bit more than I assumed. Anyway, but I think we were really, like, I don't know if you want to put it into esoteric terms, like maybe my birth chart's like really good this time around, or maybe we have a shitload more divine protection than we thought we had. But the decisions I made to cope with these fucked up scenarios didn't pander out as much as they usually. I don't know why. I mean, the worst thing I did was marry an idiot. So it's like, and even that was like a desperate grasp near enough for stability in a chaotic situation. It's like, I don't know. That's the most fucked up thing I did. I don't know. Just weird, I guess. I don't react properly. Anyway, but you can get advice from a lot of different people. I know I don't reflect the things that happened to me, but I do reflect the decisions I made to deal with those scenarios. Had I decided to start taking drugs to medicate myself from these horrible experiences, or if I started drinking or something, you would definitely see a different facade, exterior. You would see that I'm broken down and going weird. So when I give advice, people don't believe me. They don't credit me for what it is, because I don't look like it's happened to me. I'm going, well, the fuck it has. I got like police reports and everything. And I've got siblings to back it up, and I got, it's like, I got the backup. It's like, just no one wants to see it, So you might find that people won't listen to you because you don't look like what you've gone through. And that might happen quite frequently, because people believe if some bad shit's gone down that you're going to react like they would react. Not necessarily. Like, some people will turn to drugs and stuff like that, and it will show on their exterior. Some people won't. They'll go the other way, and they'll use it more constructively as a learning experience, and they'll look different. Unfortunately, it's one of those sort of shallow things where people believe what, judging a book by its cover. They'll see the external and go, I don't believe you. It's like, well, you should. I mean, you could look at the external and say, I'm glad you don't match what happened to you, because, clearly what you did was the right decisions. As an idea. It's like, if someone looks better than me after going through more than me, I'd be thoroughly impressed. I'm going, fuck me, you handled that well. What's your secrets? Because I need to know this information in case it happens to me. But I'm nosy. So I need to know. But it's strange. Don't be offended if people tell you to fuck off, is what I'm saying. But bearing in mind, like, some people don't want to know. Some people want to do it their way. Like, Like, my mum will tell me that from a very young age, I've had that sort of oppositional, you can't tell me what to do kind of shit. She's told me from a young age, she said, you've been that way and you won't take advice, and you don't want anything from anyone, and it's like, I won't accept shit, and won't be told. I have to learn by doing it. That's me. That's one of my core elements. I have to learn by doing. I admit myself. It's like, I don't like taking advice myself, and I can be quite stubborn with it. But I want to figure it out for myself. That could be a trauma response, that could be a personality quirk, that could be ASD, that could be anything. But at the same time, it doesn't stop me going out and looking for information. I don't just take my word as gospel and that's it. I will triangulate my information, my data, and try and find the best way of doing things when I'm looking for advice. I don't I don't assume I'm right. I look for, Jesus Christ, are you gonna stop? That's a fucking bus. Fuck me. What is going on? But you don't just assume that you're right and that's it, and you don't have to look into it, you don't have to work on yourself or anything like that. And information should be shared. It's not a case of there's one set of information and that's it. If everyone's coming from their own individual learning experiences, everyone is a lifelong learner. If you've looked into that kind of educational theory, which is touted heavily in my old uni, lifelong learners. I don't know if it's just to perpetuate the economy, but I don't know. How many uni courses do we have to sign up to? Because I don't know, you're lifelong learning. It's like, I see a flaw in this. Yes, but you're paying us to do it. It could be exploitative. It could be a good way to look at life, because we are always learning. But at the same time, it's like, we don't stop picking up information as we go along. We don't get stuck with the same information. We don't have to change, and that's it. It's always changing. Everything's upgrading or just swapping out parts and stuff like that. Our banks of knowledge are always changing. So one thing we might be thinking or feeling when we're, say, 17 is going to be very different from when we're like 33. We change as people with our exposure to experience in our surrounds and with the internal alignment we receive. You might call it divine intervention. You might call it the human psyche evolving. We change. Our mindsets change. Our decisions change. We should be seeking, in an exploratory sense, more information from other people who had similar experiences. I mean, you're not going to get the exact same answer you want, but at the same time, you might have a little bit more insight into the problem. And we take it on humbly. We don't just say, fuck you, I'm right. Look at it with an open mind, because you might be wrong. It is human error we're designed with. It's like, we're not perfect. No one's ever going to be perfect. Perfection's a myth. It's an absolute fucking myth. You know, you've got a shitload of, I'll say, religions and belief systems which seek enlightenment and perfection, whether it's dharma or karma or anything like that, but dharmic. Well, I'll get it wrong at one day. But at the same time, it's a myth, because we're built with human error in mind. We're not perfect. That does not just say throw your life away and just say fuck it. You should still be trying to seek enlightenment and perfection and cleansing yourself, if only to survive better in the 3D. If you don't believe in all the spiritual stuff. But at the same time, no one's perfect. Show some humility. If someone offers you advice, take it on board. Consider it. Don't let it completely override you, because you're not a follower, and no one should be, because you never know when you're going to be on your own. Ooh, how are we going with this? Is this a good one? That's a good one. Good shade. Okay. Be mindful of how your actions will interact with your external environment. I mean, there is a danger of being manipulated into situations because you're taking someone else's advice. You need to consider who you're surrounding yourself with. Are they offering good advice, constructive advice, healthy, ethical advice, or are they just trying to get you to do shit because it works for them and it validates what they want to do, regardless of whether it's a good decision or a bad decision? Unfortunately, that's one of the downsides of advice. It's like sometimes you get the shit bit with the good bit. If you're anything like me, you've had a series of bad role models, so whatever advice they give me, I know it's fucked up. So it's like, but I will still consider it. Like, if I could take advice from my parents, I know how messed up they are, but I also consider my own position in this, where, like, I'm giving advice on marriage. Like, I did a podcast the other day about marriage. I considered the things that failed in my marriage, and I offer advice based on that. I say, this fucked up, don't do it. Well, it's a very simplified version of it, but at the same time, it's more a case of, this is what failed me and my circumstances. Take it on board if you want, but you don't have to accept it. I'm just saying, be mindful of that could occur. So I do the same thing with my parents' advice. I know they come from a fucked up arrangement. They're still together, but it's toxic as fuck, and it's just... So I look at their advice and I say, okay, so there's a chance this could happen. How can I use it in my life to my betterment, knowing that this is, I want to say, in the psyche. But I won't do it exactly. If they said, you know, you should stick with the person you're with because you're married and that's it, which is essentially what they sort of programmed us to be thinking when we were kids is like, you don't get divorced. Divorce is not a thing. But then I look at their marriage and I sit there and think, that's not exactly a healthy marriage, regardless whether it's, you know, it should be a joint project where people get along towards a common goal. But these guys are just like, we're sticking together because, you know, for several reasons. And I have broken this down and voiced it to my mom. She's like, I know why you tied together. And I sit there and go, this is why, blah, 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 blah. Because I got a psych degree. And I'm not even joking about that. I do. And she's like, really? But, you know, you break it down and you see which parts are actually relevant to your context and your situation and will actually help. And if you can see something to avoid, then that's a blessing in itself, because you know where the problems are going to come from if you do continue on that path. If you've got role models, like anti-role models around you, you can see what they've done, what's led up to those particular circumstances, and say, this is not for me, it's not the life I want, so I'm not going to do that. Which does leave you at a loss when you've only been surrounded by anti-role models, because you're kind of just sailing on your own then. You're like, I don't know where I'm going, but I know I'm not touching those rocks. So I'm just, which is a bit tricky because you kind of carve your own path and you don't know if you're right or wrong, but you pick it up as you go, don't you? Anyway, I need to summarize now because I got to go into class. If you are giving advice, and this is coming from an autistic, try and be tactful. People aren't often ready to receive advice, even if it's good or bad advice. Often they'll see it as a threat to their ego because you're telling them what to do. And no adult wants to be told what to do, which is why we get so many people skeptical of things like the government. So I don't want to be told what to do. It's like, even if it helps me, fuck you. Did you see like how everyone reacted with the vaccine mandates? They lost their fucking mind. Anyway, I could have a long discussion on that one. Government can't tell me what to do. I want to exist in a realm that's controlled by the government, but you can't tell me what to do. It's like creating a paradox there, aren't you? Anyway, be mindful of how you deliver the information, because lots of people can't handle the truth, whether it's good or bad. Make sure that it's ethically applied. Don't just throw it at them because you want them to do something. Manipulation is never forgivable karmically. You will get a huge debt for that. Manipulating people to get them to do what you want them to do in a bad way. Although they do say manipulation can happen in a good way, where you're trying to help people get ahead in life. And that whole thing is just open to like human errors. Like, how do you know you're doing the right thing? And then we can get started talking about Foucault. No, what is truth? What is power? All right, no. But at the same time, you know, be careful of what you're giving out information-wise. Don't stand to benefit from people. Unless, of course, they benefit as well. Like if you've got a position at work that you know is a good position for them, maybe you could tell them about it and you could help them get the right skills and qualifications to do that position. That would be a nice thing. But at the same time, if you're looking to get this person into the position just so you can control them because you gave them a job, and it's like, how good am I that I gave you this position and I'm carrying your family financially for you because I gave you this position? That's a bad way to do it, I think. Yeah, there's a lot of weird ways to look at this. I don't like that. So take it easy. I'm going to have to leave it there because otherwise I will ramble. I've had about 4 coffees today and I'm just buzzing. It's Thursday. Take it easy, and hopefully I will do another podcast. Not tomorrow, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday again. Or the weekend. The weekend, yes. Be mindful of how you use your advice. It's honestly up to you. Inevitably, you're the adult in this situation. It's up to you how you take the information and use it to your advantage. Don't be arrogant and assuming that you are always right or that someone else is wrong because they're different from you. It's only through sharing information that we can actually grow, for the better or worse. But at the same time, growing is usually what we're heading for anyway, and surviving. That's part of the human condition as well, to survive. So you might be stunting your growth if you don't listen to the advice, or at least entertain the idea of it. I'm going to leave it there, because otherwise I'm going to keep rambling. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time, next Saturday, I think.